They say knowledge is power, but what if the wisest man in history knew nothing at all? And what if that very admission changed the world forever? Ancient Athens, a city of dazzling ideas and fierce debates, a place where democracy was born, where grand temples touched the sky, and where the brightest minds gathered. But amidst this glory, a quiet, barefoot man dared to ask uncomfortable questions, not about the gods or the stars, but about the very foundations of human understanding, of justice, of virtue, of what it truly meant to live a good life. This was Socrates, and his story isn't just about a philosopher, it's about the birth of critical thought, a rebellion of the mind that still echoes today, challenging us to look beyond easy answers and question everything. We're about to explore how this man, who wrote nothing down, became the father of Western philosophy, and why his life and his death continue to be one of humanity's most profound lessons. Imagine a bustling marketplace, the agora, the heart of Athenian life. People trading goods, politicians making speeches, poets reciting verses. And then there he was, Socrates. Not the handsome, polished figure you might expect from a great teacher. He was stout, with a snub nose and bulging eyes, often seen in simple, worn clothing, walking barefoot through the city's dust. He wasn't a wealthy man. His father was a stonemason, his mother a midwife, and in a city obsessed with status and appearance, Socrates seemed an anomaly. He didn't lecture from a podium. He didn't charge for his lessons. Instead, he simply approached people, anyone from a general to a shoemaker, and started talking. But his conversations were different. They weren't about gossip or the weather. They were about truth, about wisdom, about virtue. Socrates' weapon, as some might call it, was deceptively simple, a single, persistent question. He wasn't interested in telling people what to think. He was obsessed with teaching them how to think. His method, which we now call the Socratic Method, or elenchus, wasn't about delivering answers. It was about tearing down assumptions, one careful question at a time. He would engage someone who claimed to know something, say what justice was, and then, through a series of innocent-sounding questions, reveal that their understanding was far from complete, often contradictory. It was like gently pulling a thread from a sweater, only to watch the whole garment unravel. He didn't do this to mock or humiliate, but to show that true wisdom often begins with realizing the limits of what we think we know. He believed that many people lived their lives confidently holding on to beliefs they had never truly examined, beliefs that might crumble under scrutiny. And so, he gently yet relentlessly poked and prodded, pushing people to examine their own minds. This method was revolutionary. Before Socrates, philosophers often presented grand theories about the universe or the nature of reality. Socrates turned philosophy inward, making it about human conduct, ethics, and self-knowledge. His famous declaration, "I know one thing, that I know nothing," wasn't a statement of ignorance, but a profound insight. It meant that true wisdom lay not in accumulating facts, but in understanding the vastness of what remains unknown, and in the constant pursuit of understanding, even when answers are elusive. It was the birth of philosophy as a critical, self-aware endeavor. It wasn't about certainty, it was about the courageous journey of questioning itself. This relentless questioning, however, didn't always make him popular. Athens was a city that valued confident pronouncements, not endless self-doubt. Many found Socrates irritating, even dangerous. But then came the story of the Oracle of Delphi. Chaerephon, a friend of Socrates, journeyed to the sacred site and asked the priestess, "Is anyone wiser than Socrates?" The oracle's answer was unequivocal, "No man is wiser." Socrates was stunned. He believed he knew nothing, so how could he be the wisest? He saw this as a divine challenge, a mission from the gods. He felt he had to test the oracle's pronouncement by seeking out others renowned for their wisdom, politicians, poets, skilled craftsmen. He questioned the politicians, men who held great power and claimed to know how to govern. But under Socrates' gentle cross-examination, their grand ideas often dissolved into confusion and contradiction. He found that they believed they knew a great deal, but in reality knew little. He spoke to poets who could write beautiful verses that moved people. But when he asked them to explain the meaning behind their own poetry, They struggled, often giving answers no more insightful than anyone else's. He concluded that their inspiration came from a place they didn't fully comprehend. He even questioned the skilled craftsmen, who certainly knew how to build and create. They were experts in their fields, but Socrates noted that because they were good at their craft, they often believed they were also wise in other, more profound matters, which they were not. Through this journey, Socrates began to understand the oracle's meaning. He wasn't wiser because he possessed more knowledge. He was wiser because he recognized his own limitations. He knew that he didn't know, while others, equally ignorant, were convinced of their own wisdom. He became, as he famously described himself, the gadfly of Athens. A gadfly is an annoying fly that stings horses, keeping them awake and moving. Socrates saw himself as stinging the great steed of Athens, constantly provoking it, forcing it to examine itself, to confront its complacency. He believed that without this constant self-examination, a city, like an individual, would fall into a slumber of unthinking habit and moral decay. His goal was not to overthrow the city, but to make it better, to stir its citizens towards true virtue and knowledge. He was a patriot in his own unique, deeply inconvenient way. But a gadfly, no matter how well-intentioned, can be seen as a pest. And in 399 BC, at the age of 70, Socrates' relentless questioning caught up with him. He was brought to trial on charges of impiety, not believing in the city's gods, and corrupting the youth. These charges were likely a smokescreen, a way to silence a man who had made too many powerful people uncomfortable, whose teachings seemed to undermine traditional values, especially after Athens had suffered a humiliating defeat in the Peloponnesian War. The city was looking for scapegoats, and Socrates, with his loyal, questioning young followers, became an easy target. The trial was a spectacle, held before a jury of 501 Athenian citizens. Socrates, ever the philosopher, refused to beg for mercy or compromise his principles. Instead, he used his defense as one last, powerful lesson. He argued that he was doing the city a service, waking it up from its moral slumber. He famously declared, "The unexamined life is not worth living." This wasn't just a clever phrase, it was the core of his philosophy. To him, to simply exist without reflecting on one's values, one's purpose, one's beliefs, was to live a hollow existence. He explained that he would rather die than give up his mission of philosophizing, of questioning, of seeking truth. He even suggested that his penalty should be free meals for life in the Prytaneum, a great honor usually reserved for Olympic victors, for his service to the city. The jury, perhaps bewildered by his uncompromising stance, perhaps simply threatened by his influence, found him guilty by a narrow margin. He was sentenced to death by drinking hemlock, a potent poison. His friends urged him to escape, offering to arrange his flight from Athens. But Socrates refused. He believed in the laws of Athens, even if they were unjustly applied to him. To escape would be to undermine the very principles of justice he had spent his life exploring. He chose integrity over life, illustrating in his final moments the very ideals he had taught. In prison, surrounded by his weeping students, he calmly drank the hemlock. He spent his last hours discussing the immortality of the soul, facing death with a tranquility that astounded and inspired those around him. He taught them that to die with integrity is to live forever, a final, poignant lesson on courage and conviction. Socrates wrote nothing, yet his legacy is immense, carried forward by his most famous student, Plato. Plato's dialogues immortalized Socrates' conversations, shaping the course of Western thought. Through Plato, and then through Plato's student Aristotle, Socrates' method of critical inquiry became the bedrock of philosophy, science, and even democratic governance. Every time we ask why, every time we challenge an assumption, every time we demand evidence, we are echoing Socrates. His spirit lives in the scientific method, which insists on observation, hypothesis, and rigorous testing. It lives in our legal systems, which demand cross-examination and reasoned argument. It lives in our education, encouraging students not just to memorize facts, but to think for themselves. Socrates' challenge to examine our lives, to seek genuine understanding rather than superficial knowledge, is more relevant today than ever. In an age of instant information and often unchecked claims, his call for critical thinking, for distinguishing between what we think we know and what we truly understand, is a guiding light. He reminds us that true wisdom isn't about having all the answers, but about having the courage to ask the right questions, even when those questions are uncomfortable, even when they challenge deeply held beliefs. His life and his death were a testament to the power of intellectual integrity and the enduring importance of examining the foundations of our own existence. He never stopped asking, and neither should we. History, after all, is a story of questions that refuse to die. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to History Memory Chronicles for more historic deep dives. Like, share, and comment.